The movie begins with a war. The Romans launched a massive attack on Africa, and the battle raged for many days. However, there was something unusual about this conflict. A Roman general named Lucius led the African army. Lucius stood firmly with Africa despite being Roman by birth, defending it against the invaders. His wife was by his side in the fight, playing an equally important role in strategizing and boosting morale. However, tragedy struck when the Romans launched a brutal assault, and Lucius's wife was killed in the chaos. Her death was a devastating blow to Lucius. Though his intelligence and their combined efforts had held the Romans back for a while, her loss broke his spirit. Overwhelmed with grief and unable to continue fighting, Lucius lost his will, and the African forces soon fell. The Romans, with their larger numbers and relentless aggression, overpowered the African army and seized control of the region. Lucius, along with the defeated African soldiers, was taken captive and transported to Rome. At that time, Rome was ruled by two twin brothers, Geta and Caracalla. The first king of Rome had been known for his fairness and mercy, but under the rule of these two brothers, things had taken a dark turn. Both were cruel rulers, but Caracalla's unstable mental condition made him particularly dangerous. The citizens of Rome lived in fear, suffering under their tyrannical rule. To celebrate their victory over Africa, General Marcus, who had led the Roman forces in the war, suggested organizing a grand spectacle for the people of Rome. Geta eagerly approved, and a barbaric event was planned, a violent arena fight featuring the captured African soldiers. The twist? The prisoners would face not just Roman soldiers, but ferocious, bloodthirsty monkeys trained to kill. Lucius and the other prisoners were brought into the arena for this horrifying spectacle. As he stepped onto the battlefield, something stirred deep within Lucius. He began to experience flashbacks from his childhood. The surroundings felt oddly familiar, triggering memories he had long forgotten. In one vivid flashback, Lucius recalled being a young boy and standing in this very field. His mother had sent him away with some soldiers, instructing them to protect him. It became clear that Lucius had a deep, personal connection to this place, though he hadn't realized it until now. Back in the present, the gruesome battle began. The Roman spectators cheered as the deadly monkeys were unleashed onto the field. These creatures were monstrous, fierce, wild, and trained to kill without mercy. They lunged at the captured soldiers with terrifying speed, tearing through their ranks in moments. The arena became a bloodbath as the prisoners were slaughtered one by one. Lucius watched the carnage unfold, haunted by his memories and consumed by grief. The film leaves you on edge, wondering how Lucius will face the brutal reality of the arena, and whether he will find the strength to fight back or succumb to the horrors surrounding him. The monkeys' method of killing was so brutal that the soldiers couldn't defend themselves. Lucius and his companions stood at a distance, watching this horrifying scene. Then, using their courage, intelligence, and bravery, they moved forward. They attacked the monkeys from behind, overpowering them and eventually killing them. While all this was happening, Rome's ex-general Macrinus was observing Lucius very carefully. When the event ended, Macrinus approached Lucius and took him aside. He praised Lucius for his courage and fighting skills, saying, "I've seen your strength. I want you to fight for me as my gladiator. In return, I'll give you a luxurious life. Otherwise, you know how prisoners are treated here." Macrinus's offer was tempting, but Lucius responded by laughing. Confused, Macrinus looked at him and asked why he was laughing. Lucius replied, "I didn't come here for luxury or to fight for someone else. I came here for one reason only, to kill General Marcus. He killed my wife, and I want his head." Hearing this, Macrinus said, "If that's what you want, I'll take responsibility for it. You'll get General Marcus's head, but in return, you'll work for me and follow my orders." The scene then shifts to General Marcus, who is shown with his wife, Lucilla. Lucilla was the princess of Rome. This land had originally belonged to her father, but after his death, it passed to her first husband, who died in a war. Now she was married to General Marcus. General Marcus told Lucilla, "I'm the one who has the right to rule Rome, not Geta and Caracalla. They are tyrants, and I have decided to start a rebellion against them. In a few days, I'll gather my army and wage a war to take back Rome." After this, the scene shifts back to Lucius, who is called once again to fight in the arena, this time as a gladiator, a professional fighter. This fight was arranged solely for the entertainment of the emperors. The gladiator who came to fight Lucius was Darius, a champion who had remained undefeated for years. His reputation made him a formidable opponent, and he was overpowering Lucius in the beginning. But Lucius didn't lose hope. He focused on defending himself at first, and then carefully observed the gladiator's weaknesses. Finally, he managed to control Darius by grabbing his hands and using Darius's knife to stab and kill him. The crowd was stunned. Lucius had defeated the most experienced gladiator, a feat no one had accomplished before. Even Emperor Geta was impressed by Lucius's skills and began praising him. In response to Geta's admiration, Lucius recited a poem in the Roman language, something his mother had taught him when he was a child. Hearing the poem left everyone, including Geta, surprised. Shortly after, General Marcus arrived, taking Lucius away. In the jail, Marcus questioned Lucius, asking him where he was from and where he was born. Hearing the poem sparked suspicion in Marcus's mind. He started to believe that Lucius might be Lucilla's son. However, despite being asked repeatedly, Lucius refused to confirm or deny anything. The scene then shifts to General Marcus as he prepares for his rebellion against Geta and Caracalla. Many senators, government spies, and other influential figures were ready to support him because they were tired of the emperor's cruelty and injustice. Marcus revealed that he had built a private army of 5,000 soldiers, and they planned to storm the palace and overthrow the tyrants. The next day, another fight was arranged by Geta. This time, the opponents were Lucius and his fellow prisoners, and they were to face a deadly rhinoceros controlled by a Roman soldier. If anyone managed to survive the rhinoceros, the soldier would kill them with a whip. The fight was designed to be so dangerous that escape seemed impossible. The battle began, and the rhinoceros quickly killed several prisoners with powerful strikes. One by one, they fell until it was finally Lucius's turn. Using his intelligence, Lucius dodged the rhinoceros's initial attack by stepping aside. When the rhinoceros charged at him again, Lucius cleverly threw mud into the air, blinding the beast. He then moved toward the wall, and when the rhinoceros tried to attack him again, it got its horns stuck in the wall. Having escaped the rhinoceros, Lucius now had to face the Roman soldier controlling it. This new gladiator was far more powerful and skilled than Darius. Lucius struggled to predict his moves, leaving him at a disadvantage in the fight. Lucius tried his best to protect himself, but he couldn't find an opening to attack the gladiator in front of him. Before he could make a move, the gladiator struck him and knocked him down. The fight seemed to be over, and Lucius was on the verge of being killed. However, Geta made a gesture to stop the fight, sparing Lucius. He admired Lucius's talent and decided to give him another chance. As Geta spared Lucius, he recited the same poem that Lucius had recited after his earlier victory. Hearing this poem from Geta brought back memories for Lucilla. It felt familiar to her, but she couldn't immediately recall where she had heard it before. After returning to her room, Lucilla kept thinking about the poem, trying to connect it to her past. Finally, she remembered that it was the same poem she had recited to her son, Lucius, when she sent him away with soldiers after her first husband's death. Realizing this, Lucilla understood that the prisoner fighting in the arena was none other than her son, Lucius. The story flashes back to explain why Lucilla had sent her son so far away. At the time, Lucius was very young, and with his father's death in the war, he was the rightful heir to the throne. However, due to his age, many enemies posed a threat to his life. To protect him, Lucilla made the difficult decision to send him away, ensuring his safety from those who wanted to seize power. Determined to reveal the truth, Lucilla decided to visit Lucius in prison that night. When she arrived, Lucius immediately apologized to her, acknowledging the distance she had maintained between them. He expressed his anger, stating that because of that distance, neither of them had been able to recognize each other until now. Lucilla explained her actions, saying, "I never wanted to keep you away from me, but I had no choice. After your father's death, many people became your enemies. I sent you far away to protect your life. You are my son, the rightful heir, and the true ruler of this land." She wanted to say more, but Lucius was overcome with anger and confusion. He couldn't process everything at once and scolded her, sending her away from the prison. His thoughts were clouded, and it wasn't clear what emotions he was battling inside. The next day, Lucius was called to fight in yet another battle, one even more dangerous than the previous ones. This fight was to take place on a ship floating in waters filled with hungry sharks. If Lucius lost, he would be thrown into the water to be devoured by the sharks. Even worse, if he lost his balance during the fight and fell into the water, the sharks would attack him instantly. This life-threatening battle was unlike anything Lucius had faced before. Still, Lucius fought bravely. After killing the gladiator in front of him, he grabbed an arrow and threw it toward General Marcus, intending to take revenge for his wife's death. However, Lucius missed his target, and the arrow struck Getta's chair. Although no one was harmed, the attack caused a stir. General Marcus, realizing the danger, left the arena and retreated to his quarters to continue preparing for his rebellion. In his room, General Marcus was confronted by Lucilla, who delivered shocking news. Her son, Lucius, the rightful heir to the throne, had returned. This revelation left Marcus stunned, as it jeopardized his dreams of ruling Rome. Unbeknownst to them, their conversation was overheard by a spy, who quickly reported everything to General Macrinus, the old general who had initially tried to recruit Lucius as his gladiator. General Macrinus, accompanied by the spy, betrayed Marcus by revealing the information to the rulers, Geta and Caracalla. They informed the emperors of two critical things. First, that General Marcus was planning a rebellion to seize the throne, and second, that Lucilla's son, the legitimate heir, had returned. Furious at this news, Geta ordered the immediate arrest of both Lucilla and General Marcus. The scene then shifted to Lucius in prison. A soldier stationed nearby began recounting stories about Rome's past gladiators and rulers, including Maximus, Lucius's father. Eager to know more, Lucius asked the soldier to tell him about Maximus. The soldier eventually took Lucius to a hidden place where Maximus's armorer had preserved his swords. Seeing his father's weapons triggered childhood memories in Lucius, confirming the truth of Lucilla's words. He was indeed the son of Maximus and Lucilla. The next day, Geta organized another gladiatorial event, one of the daily fights meant for entertainment. This time, he introduced a new prisoner to the arena, General Marcus. Despite his age, Marcus's experience as a former gladiator made him a formidable opponent. He defeated every gladiator sent against him with ease. Then, on Geta's orders, Lucius was summoned to fight Marcus. This battle carried significant stakes for Lucius, who sought revenge for his wife's death. As they fought, Marcus eventually dropped his sword and surrendered. Looking up at Lucius, he acknowledged him as the true ruler, saying, "Lucius, I know you are the next rightful king of this land." This unexpected surrender shocked Lucius. Before he could act, Geta stood up and commanded Lucius to kill Marcus. However, Lucius refused, arguing that it was dishonorable to kill a defenseless man who had thrown down his weapon. Infuriated by Lucius's defiance, Geta ordered his soldiers to execute Marcus. The soldiers fired arrows, killing Marcus on the spot. Lucius was devastated by Marcus's death, but he quickly seized the moment as a political opportunity. Standing before the crowd, he shouted, "Look at what the king has done! He killed the greatest general of this land, a man who dedicated his life to serving the rulers of Rome. If such a great man's life means nothing to this king, then imagine how little he values yours. One day he will come for you as well." His words struck a chord with the people, planting seeds of rebellion against Geta's rule. The crowd began murmuring, their loyalty to the king shaken by Lucius's powerful declaration. The people of Rome, angered by Lucius's speech, began turning against King Geta. This outrage quickly grew into a massive movement, with protests breaking out even at night. The streets filled with angry citizens demanding the removal of Geta from power. Amidst the chaos, General Macrinus saw an opportunity to stir further trouble. He approached Caracalla, Geta's brother, and planted seeds of doubt in his mind. Macrinus told Caracalla that Geta would never allow him to rule, and that Geta wanted to keep all the power for himself. Caracalla, who was mentally fragile and easily influenced, believed Macrinus's words. In a fit of rage, Caracalla confronted Geta, and, in a shocking act of violence, killed his brother by beheading him. Meanwhile, Lucilla, unaware of these events, visits Lucius in prison. She brought with her a special ring, a symbol of Rome's throne, once belonging to Lucius's father Maximus. Handing the ring to her son, she declared him the rightful heir. Lucius accepted it silently, his eyes filled with regret. Overcome with emotion, he told Lucilla, "I couldn't save General Marcus, but I won't lose you. I promise to protect you." He embraced his mother, ending all bitterness between them. The next day, Caracalla announced to the public that Geta was dead and that he was now the king. Before anyone could react, General Macrinus entered the scene holding Geta's severed head. He accused Caracalla of murder, declaring him unfit to rule. Caracalla was arrested and imprisoned for his crime. This was all part of Macrinus's plan to eliminate both brothers and seize power for himself. With Geta and Caracalla out of the way, Macrinus proclaimed himself the new ruler of Rome. Lucius, however, was already working on his plan. He entrusted the ring given by his mother to a loyal soldier and instructed him to find General Dorus, a trusted ally, and deliver the ring as a call for help. The soldier realized Lucius's true identity as Lucilla's son and followed his orders without hesitation. Meanwhile, Macrinus, drunk with power, ordered Lucius to fight in another gladiatorial match as punishment for refusing to become his gladiator. This time, Macrinus wanted Lucius to face multiple opponents to humiliate and kill him. When Lucius received the message, he was enraged but stayed calm. Using a key he had stolen from a guard, Lucius escaped from prison. He overpowered the soldiers guarding him and fled to meet General Dorus's army, determined to reclaim Rome from Macrinus. Soon, news of General Dorus's advancing army reached Macrinus. Realizing he would have to fight a full-scale battle, he abandoned his gladiator games and prepared for war. The two armies faced each other on the battlefield. Macrinus led the Roman army, while Lucius and General Dorus led a smaller but fiercely determined force. Despite being outnumbered, Lucius's army fought with unmatched courage. As the battle raged, Lucius and Macrinus came face to face. Lucius confronted him, saying, "I fight to save Rome from tyrants like you." Their duel began, with both men exchanging powerful blows. The fight was intense and brutal, with neither willing to give up. They clashed with their swords, moving closer to the water as the battle continued. At one point, Macrinus overpowered Lucius and threw him into the water, holding him under in an attempt to drown him. Lucius was on the verge of defeat when he suddenly remembered his mother's voice and her sacrifice. He learned that Macrinus had sent men to kill her during the battle. Filled with renewed strength and rage, Lucius fought back. He emerged from the water, launching a final, decisive attack on Macrinus. With one powerful strike, he killed the tyrant. With Macrinus dead, the battlefield grew silent. Lucius stood victorious. He addressed the people, saying, "It was my father Maximus's dream to make Rome a land of peace and justice for everyone. That dream was never realized because of corrupt rulers, but I vow to turn his dream into reality." The crowd erupted in applause, recognizing Lucius as their rightful ruler. He was crowned king, and under his leadership, Rome finally began its journey toward the peace and unity Maximus had envisioned. The story ends with Lucius reclaiming his rightful place as Rome's ruler, fulfilling both his father's dream and his destiny.